Get it, get it, get it. Oh, some new moves. I like that. I like that. How are you doing?
Excellent.
Good, good. Welcome to episode 128. Super excited, right? To talk about social wellness and more dimensional wellness. So, let's go ahead and start us off for today. We will do our intro and get into what we're talking about today. Hi, ladies. I am Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial entrepreneur and Amazon bestselling author, the founder of Shalo Glow, an all natural handmade personal products company that helps women with dry skin glow from head to toe. I'm a champion for your self care, business care, and intentional wellness. And today, as you see, Christine is away. We're sending you love, Christine. She's been all over the world doing some really good work. So we have our guest here, Dr. Cynthia Phelps. You ladies know and love her, one of our Amazon bestselling authors, one of our experts on the show. So, Cynthia, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yes.
I'm happy to be here. And what I do with my company, Inner Ally, is I'm really interested in the relationship that you have with yourself and how we can use inner compassionate language to make it amazing.
I love that. Inner compassionate is so important, especially in social environments. They could be different, especially with women. That was one of the first things that we used to talk about in our group as a cohort for volume one is, hey, we worked really well together for 18 women around the world, not in the same actual physical room, you know? Yes, yes. Ooh, excuse me. So again, guys, this is our expert guest, and we want to welcome you to our podcast, Rooted in the Eight Dimensions of Wellness, and invite you to join us and special guests for weekly intentional conversations and how to be well in business, relationships, and wellness. Today, again, we're talking about social wellness. So let's jump straight into the definition and then go from there.
The definition of social wellness is about the ability to nurture ourselves, others, and our relationships with healthy boundaries. It includes balancing the other seven dimensions of wellness and actively participating as an interdependent being in the web of life.
Ooh, so I'm interested, actively participating. You guys know I take notes. As a advocate for self-compassion, right? When you hear boundaries with yourself, what do you think about? What does that mean?
I really think about when I need to have internal discipline to be able to get some of my long term goals achieved. That's when I need to set boundaries with myself. Like, oh, nope, it's not time to get up yet. You need to finish this. Those types of things.
Yes, I like that. And that's true. I've been working on holding my non-negotiables recently. So, do I have my water at every workstation? Check, like do I have the things that I need to make sure that I'm pouring from a full cup and creating the environment that'll make it so my discipline is maintained? Or am I self-sabotaging? That internal, I like what you said, the internal accountability. And just to check in, that makes sense. Okay. Okay, guys. So I'm excited for our conversation today. I want to go ahead and bring our guest up. And today we have Destiny Ekwueme. She is an actress who's been working in the industry for over 10 years. Some of her most notable work includes Ryan Coogler's Fruitvale Station, a recent roles in Lifetime Network. She's recently finished filming an indie feature film by the name of The Moon is an Aquarius. Welcome to the stage, Destiny. Hey,
Hi. Nice to see
welcome.
your beautiful faces.
Yes, I'm super excited to have this conversation with you guys.
Same, same.
So,
Thank you for having me.
of course. So, as an actress, right, the first thing I think about, especially with my passion in psychology, is how you
hmm
jump in and out of roles, right? How do you maintain your social wellness and your boundaries?
Yeah, honestly, when I first started with acting, and I think a lot of actors do this, where there is no boundaries when you first start, you don't really understand how to separate the two. Um, and you end up giving so much of yourself for a role or for a project because you want it to be great. And as the years go on, you realize, just like anyone who gets older, that you need boundaries. And for me, when I take on a project, it's just remembering, like you said, your non-negotiables, and
Yes.
making sure that I bring that to set with me. And sometimes I'm a Cancer, so I can be like, I can be a little compassionate for everyone else and not think about myself.
Yes.
And so sometimes I have to kind of repeat what I want and what I want everyone else to know, to myself. So when it's time to ask for the things I need, it just slips out like butter. And so I just kind of remember to do that for myself.
That makes sense. So what does that look
Hmm.
like for you? Does that look like mantras in the mirror in the morning? Does it look like hyping yourself up in the car? And like, what is it?
Yeah, it's definitely in the car on the way to the job. I'm talking to myself. I'm reading my script or saying my script out loud, but I'm also saying my own personal script, if that makes sense. Because I've learned recently through therapy that, like, it's okay to kind of have a script of your own that you tell the world until you get used to saying it. And so for me, it's, being in the car, repeating, the things that I need. Make sure you drink your water. Make sure they know that you need to be fed. Make sure, you don't go over the hours, that you told them or that you guys agreed on.
That's good.
Um, and so when it's time and they say, "Oh, well, we're almost done. Like, do you think that, you could do 30 more minutes?" I'm like, "You said we're done at 5. I can do 30 more minutes, but it's going to cost you. Do you want to continue?" And then they'll say, "Maybe we can figure out something else."
Absolutely. We look forward to it. Right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Beautiful. Okay, so Cynthia, you have the inner allies, right? With what you heard from Destiny, which ally did you hear when she was saying those things?
Oh, yeah. So, what comes to mind for me is the healer, because her
Oh,
superpower is self care, but it's not just self care, it's actually balancing care for self with care for others. And you can actually think of this as kind of like energy going into yourself and energy going out of
mm,
yourself. And so, you want to make sure that you're not just giving and giving all day, and that there's ways that that you can bring energy back into your body that hype you up or calm you down or give you whatever it is that you really need.
yes. I love
That's
that.
beautiful.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. That's
Mm,
something that I was saying that's something that I definitely have been trying to do, and to hear you say that is like, it's like, okay, like, this is I'm on the right path. Like, perfect.
I
that's
was thinking that exactly, because a lot of times when I work with people, I we create like specific language that they can use with themselves. That's like
Mhm.
custom for what they're working with, and oftentimes I tell people to take the phrases that we've developed and put them on their dashboard. And so, like, you're already there.
Yes,
You're already doing it.
I love
in the
that.
car. In the car. So, Destiny, when you said that you were already working on part of what she said, what does that look like for you in your industry? Like when I think about part of what you said, right? There were no boundaries at first. So, oh, that's a good point. Did I have boundaries going into management? Did I know what boundaries to set? Had I thought about it? Like, I don't think so. I don't think I did. So that was a really good point. What does that look like for you?
Yeah. So as a woman in the industry, as an actress, honestly, a one woman in any industry, I feel like growing up, we've been taught certain boundaries and certain things that we should look out for. And I think that's starting off. I think that's what I had in mind, especially with the entertainment industry. But
Okay.
as I, got used to learning boundaries with that, I think I picked up other boundaries as far as, like, just mental health, not just physical health. And yeah, starting off, it's not something that anyone really teaches you. Like once you go to work, like make sure you're, mentally well. Like you don't
Right.
learn that in school. And so for me, it was realizing that I would go to set and I would be completely drained, and something that I absolutely love, which is acting and entertaining and performing, became something that I was like dreading.
I hear
Like
you.
how would I even get the energy to do it?
Right.
Um, and for me, I didn't want to become one of those people who didn't love what they do. I mean, I'm an actress. Like I'm doing it because I love it, not because I'm getting hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars.
Right.
And so the second I stop loving it, it's kind of becomes no point.
Yes.
And so I had to really take a step back and figure out, how do I create habits so that I continue to love what I do.
Yes.
And one of those things was, it really just started small, honestly, like showing up to set and making sure I was fed, making sure that I ate, or making sure that everyone on set had food for me. And the right I'm vegan right now, and so like now I make sure they know, like I'm
Good.
vegan. I don't eat meat. I don't eat dairy, because sometimes even with me saying that, I show up and there's something.
Mhm.
And so making sure I have that. Also making sure when we're not filming, I always do this thing where I close my eyes and just take a rest. A director told me to do that before, and because I asked him, I said, like, how are you going and going and going? You're here. You're the first one here. You're the last one to leave. Like how do you do it? And he was like, honestly, I close my eyes any moment I get. And that was a big eye opener for me, no pun intended, because I'm that person where when I'm working or when I'm there, I want to make sure that I'm as there as possible, as focused
Right.
as possible.
Effective,
And
showing up.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
And it took me years to realize I don't have to be on 24/7. I can, when I show up, I can take my moments to recuperate. And that has really helped me,
Yes.
just being on set, honestly. Yeah.
I love that, and that's exactly what I started doing, and I don't know if I did it before. And actually, no, I'll take that back because we talked about it at this past weekend's event at the retail
Hmm.
space. How each location at Papado I worked at, there was somewhere I would go to be able to take that breath, right?
Hmm.
And I would do it at a certain moment. Of course, my guests are taken care of, my team is taken care of. Somebody knows I'm away, so if they need to come get me, I'm okay. Unless
Yeah.
the one time I had to walk away and I just left, and it was in front of everybody right before we opened it was crazy, right before we opened the Lawrenceville restaurant, and I said, "I just walked away from my boss, and my boss's boss's boss, but he was yelling at me, but the feedback was not for me, it was for this other kitchen manager." I said, "You can talk to him, but you're not gonna yell in my ear." But in order to not and instead of saying that, I said, "Let me walk away." And so I calmly walked away all the way to the back, through the first locked door to the little room back there. That's where I went. And my general manager came and he just stood. I was sitting down. He came and just stood there. He's like, "You okay?" I said, "I'm okay. I just need a second." And he needs to give the feedback to the right person, but that was my place. You go and take a second after you take care of your responsibilities. And I think about Still Point, Christine's first book that she co-authored with Sheila K. Collins, and being intentional in those still points, right? Drinking some water. Let me stretch a little bit. Do you need to check in with somebody, or also intentionally make sure that your time for yourself, you don't give away and give to somebody else, and then you still didn't really give it to yourself. You know, what do those still points look like in different seasons of your life is what I've been working through. Yeah. What about you, Cynthia? As somebody who helps people with their inner compassion, what do you think about the sustainability that you add in through your workflows?
It's funny. I do a lot of tech work, even though I am in mental health and wellness. That kind of some of my products are tech based, and I'm online all the time. And one of the things that I have done for maybe like the last 6 years or so
Mhm.
is I have passwords that remind me to take a breath. And so I can't tell you how many times I have to enter passwords in my daily flow, like a lot. And so it's a really fun moment to just stop and just a full breath, just that lovely space. But that's all I do. And then I'm like, doo doo doo, I'm on doing the rest of my work. But that has been one of the ways that I've incorporated into kind of my crazy flow
I
day.
like that. I like that because Christine did teach me about affirmations for passwords. So I love, like you said, having different things that you think about at certain moments. Mine are, some of them are tied to success, some of them are like things about wellness, but for it to be something to remind you to take a breath is something I hadn't thought about intentionally. And I like that. Hmm.
It reminds
Same.
me for sure.
Yeah. So, okay, Destiny, tell me more about your social wellness as an actress. You said a lot of good things when we were talking about like something I wrote down, underlying expectations of wellness, right? And
Hmm.
because you're on Fruitvale Station, this is 2013, right? That mind you,
Hmm.
and I think I told you this, first movie, maybe second movie to make me cry. I know we talk about emotional and mental wellness. I'm a G though, right? Like I do not cry like that, so
Holding it
I was
in.
he was at the train station, he saw his daughter, I was it was over, right?
Hmm.
But that's 10 years ago, like you said. So how do you what does that look like, the underlying expectations of coming from a place of wellness?
Yeah. That one was hard. That was actually one of my first films that I did, and it was so heavy and like also so beautiful to be surrounded by so many people in the family. So that was definitely helpful, but it was definitely a heavy film. Um, and there was a lot of, oh man. So the first day that I actually went to work on that film, something happened, and I think it kind of stuck with me because it was just that like that idea of me being who I am, but also being an actress who has to show up as someone else. Um, and I was driving to work. Actually, a friend's dad was driving me to work. Older white man in Oakland driving me to work, and we get pulled over, and the police automatically are like, get out of the car, get out of the car. And I'm so confused. I'm like, did we run a stop sign? Did we, we're literally across the street from the set. Um, and I realized the cops assumed that I was like a working girl, like I was a prostitute, and they thought that something was going wrong, and that I was in the wrong, and that my friend's dad was in the wrong. And once they realized that they had completely gotten it all wrong, there was
Right.
no apologies, there was no sorries, they just left. And I went straight to work on
Oh,
that
wow.
film.
Mhm.
And I think I was maybe like 19 at the time, maybe 20. um and it was just so, it was like I wanted to be able to use that momentum, that like painful momentum that I already had in this film, but I also had to recognize that I kind of had to push that feeling of what just happened out and rely on the work that I'd already done for this film, because it's not something that would have been mentally safe for me to start using right then and right there.
That makes perfect
But
sense.
there was a lot of crying on set and off of set for me those days, just because um, each thing was a reminder of the other thing. And yeah, it was a beautiful experience, but that particular experience I will never forget, and it has definitely changed me. Yeah.
I hear you. I hear
Hmm.
you. And that has been the interesting thing for me with and we're gonna just talk about how we usually talk about heavy stuff sometimes
Mhm.
periodically on the podcast, right? Um, my friend Elvon passing away last week,
Mhm.
and so I went to the tea light vigil after the podcast last week. It was beautiful, and the funeral is this Thursday, or excuse me, this Friday, and so for him to pass away at this moment, we're talking about self care, community care, business care, right, and the entrepreneurial journey, and I said, wow, what if I was still there and I was still working and so stressed out and had a heart attack because socially, social wellness, can we say that we're not okay? Do we get the help that we need, right? Do we have the boundaries that we have? Healthy habits is what we talk about. I loved how you said the habits that I put into my work. You know, that's been implementational. Is that a word? It's been very
It is
important.
now.
Okay. Hello, right? It's been very important in each of the different work environments that I've been in the last 2 years, Topgolf, Papado, and now our three businesses, right? To instill healthy habits so that I can be okay while in the positions like you're talking about. Um, and one of the very important team members of another location had passed away one time due to domestic violence. And it was crazy because I was at this location where I met my friend who we're celebrating the life of now. And so to be in that physical location and looking at everything that the brand reminds me of, nobody here knows her like that. You know, maybe two or three of us who really know, but it's a normal day and it is not a normal day. Today is not normal, you know? So I hear what you're saying, and it is different to do that, to be okay, to show up for ourselves and be the best possible version for everything that we need in all the dimensions, right? And then to go back and say, okay, I still need to give myself time, and that's healthy and that's okay. I'm gonna have self compassion because it wasn't to ignore myself, but that's what I chose to do that day. And so this is how we set up new boundaries for new seasons, and we're still here. So we made it through 100% of the most difficult days, you know? Yeah.
No, it reminds me of a concept we have in recovery that we call recovery capital.
Mm,
And it is kind of like every time you do something to take good care of yourself or learn a new skill to take care of yourself, how to set a boundary, uh, you are kind of building that capital in yourself. And when those kind of really difficult things happen, so like if that incident, with the police officer would happen to you today, Destiny, like you would have a different response, right? Because you have built all of this care capital for yourself and you've built all these skills about how to navigate the world.
I love that. I love the idea of I love the idea of recovery capital. Like making sure that you are doing something now and bringing it with you. I've never heard that term, and I absolutely love that term. I wrote it down, so
yeah.
thank you.
And what it makes, so one, first place I went in my mind, right, was love it. Never heard it. Let me write it down so I don't forget it because I know that I've seen it's true, right? Seen the effects of it in my own personal life. But then it reminds me of when people are saying, now we're hearing women say, I don't want to be strong. I'm tired of being resilient. I don't want to be nice. And these are good words. You know, it's still important to be strong because life is going to life. And if we can't crumble, we're not going to crumble. So we're going to continue to be better after everything, you know. But I get if it feels like a callus on your hands and this is getting thicker and thicker and you don't want it to build up. But that's what I love about inner ally and compassion through everything and having community like this, right? Genuinely being able to have those conversations with yourself, with other people, to process through things so that you can heal and then use the recovery capital in a healthy way. And instead of vice versa, possibly not having that heal and then something else happen. And then what happens? How do you, now you're reacting and not responding. And here we go with the whole thing, you know, but to say that this is the reality of my story and these two things happened on the same day, that's not you complaining, that's fair, that's what happened, that wasn't in your control, you know. So um I love the balance of it and the opportunity to heal, especially when we talk about epigenetics and again the way things compound. Really important to take a deep breath and drink water and laugh a little bit or close your eyes for a second and then deal with the next thing in front of you.
So I have a question for you, Destiny. I have never done any acting or anything like that. And so, you put yourself into these other characters, right? And sometimes you're in really difficult situations in these films, right? And so, do you have any process for when you kind of pull yourself out of character and kind of come back into yourself?
Good question.
Yeah, definitely. I have a process of getting into character and out of character. And as the years go on, I kind of take the different things and I add them to my process, or I switch it up. But as far as coming out of character, I usually, people will realize, I don't know if they have, but I usually get quieter throughout the day. I kind of try to, I come in as myself, and by the end of the day, I give myself the my permission to be who I authentically am at the end of a long day, which is usually quiet. I take myself out of I'm performing to I'm Destiny now. I'm tired. And that's okay. That's okay. Um, and so I kind of just, similar to what Shannon says, I take those moments throughout the day to check in with myself. So by the end of the day, I can tell I'm back at where I need to be, if that makes sense. I'm not performing anymore. I'm ready to do my drive home and like get in bed, because it's very easy for actors to just keep it on, especially when you're working with other actors, other performers. You kind of work off of each other, and so for me it's kind of just making sure I take my space. By the end of the day, I people usually say, "Where's Destiny?" And
Right?
I'll hear them say that. I'll hear
Yeah,
them say
yeah,
that,
yeah.
and if it's not my time to be on set, I'll hear them and I'll just be like,
Hmm.
they'll just say,
Yep.
Where did she go?" And it's
Left
like,
unheard. Yep.
yes,
Yep.
exactly, exactly. And it'll kind of give people, um, it's people will see that in me and they'll realize, okay, Destiny is settling. It's like, let's not work off of her energy to build more energy. And I think it works really well because, by the time it's the end of the day, which sometimes are like 16-hour days, um, people realize she's settled, I'm
Right.
settled, we're going to be
Yeah.
settled together. And it just gives me space and time to just think and be think about what I'm looking forward to for the rest of the night, and not what my character needs to be thinking about. And so yeah, it's as simple as just taking my space little by little throughout the day. Yeah, checking in.
I love that. Settling and becoming
Hmm.
the more authentically you again.
Yeah, so morphing back into myself as the day goes on. Yes.
Yes. I love that. And what you said about, and I get it. The team is going to ask, people are going to check in, which is a good thing, right? You wouldn't want to go missing and nobody's looking. So, not a bad thing. But it reminds me of your story, Cynthia, and the example that your teacher had of the self compassion. And you were like, wow. You know what I mean? And so showing that in the workplace, say, hey, I need vegan food. I need my space at the end of the day. I'll show up all 16 hours. 16, you got me. 17, it's going to be more. It's going to be more money. Is that okay for you today? Or you're going to have to put that hour on another day. I love that
Exactly.
social wellness is important.
Yeah. And they always find a different um a different option.
Hmm.
I think a lot of the time, for me, it was like being a part of the solution.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people, but especially a lot of actors, take on those roles. But you have to remember, just like any job, everyone has their role. It works
Right.
better when everyone is doing what they're there to do and they feel supported.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, as an actor, it was it's always nice to remind myself that I'm here to be the actor.
Right.
I'm not here to be the solutions person on how I can be the actor for another hour.
Right.
Um, so yeah, if I'm honest with the people around me about what I need, and it works best that way, because then there's no animosity after. Everyone
Right.
works together and they figure out what is the absolute best solution, and yeah, it's everyone does their part.
Yes. And I remember we've talked about it on a couple of different shows, how sometimes if you are not the best fit, again, that creates space for somebody else. That's why there's enough money for everybody. There's enough roles for everybody. What's yours is yours, what's mine is mine. And I can do it in the time that I have. And I'm not missing anything if I say no, so that I can say yes to something else.
And
Yes.
so I have another question.
Yes.
You have been at this a while. You've built up a
Hmm.
nice resume, or I'm not sure if that's what you call it in the
What
acting
do you
It
industry.
call it?
is. It is.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
And for somebody who is just getting into, maybe just breaking through, starting to get cast, what kind of self-care kind of advice, the sage advice, would you give from what you've learned over the last several years?
I always say someone who is just starting out, my first rule of advice is find your people. Um, find the people that will support you, no matter what, and kind of hold your same values and your same views, and that you trust, because those are going to be the people you are going to work with throughout your career, even though it doesn't look like it sometimes. Sometimes we think of these actors who work together on films over and over and over, and you're just like, wow, they keep getting cast together. No, they make sure they're on the same films because they want the film to be fun. They want to enjoy working with the people they're working with.
Yes.
Um, and that's what I always tell people. If you have a friend, even if the friend isn't another actor, if the friend is a director or just another artist, make sure that you guys stick together because you'll your paths will cross sooner or later, and it'll just get easier and easier and easier because you're going to be working with your friends.
That's
Yeah.
some great advice. I wouldn't have never been able to anticipate that.
It's very true, and I'm lucky to have a community around me that I've meticulously built to make sure, because sometimes you have to kind of make sure that the people that are around you are there for the right reasons. And I've been really lucky in that sense.
Yeah, and something that I've been talking about is people are in your life for a reason, a season, and a lifetime, right? And I used to always try to make stuff lifetime stuff. Like if it's not broke, don't fix it. So one, usually things not broke, and then I'm a pretty good fixer, right? We can work it out. I'm amicable, I'm coachable, but sometimes no, Shannon, let it go. It's okay. That was for a season. It was right for that season. It's a different season. Now it's not fitting the same. That's okay.
I completely agree. I completely agree. I recently, I think the last time we talked, I was telling you about me and my stunt work.
Yes.
And I that's something that I was trying to kind of merge out of because it was right for the season. It was right for what I needed. But as of now, I kind of broke ways with the stunt industry, just because I really want to focus on the things that I absolutely love and I absolutely enjoy. Um, but that was a very hard decision for me. It was like years of like debating like how to kind of move away from the stunt industry. Like if I'm going to who to even tell because as someone who is an independent contractor, you don't have a boss. You're not like I'm putting in my 2 weeks notice. And so
Right.
it's essentially just you telling yourself that this is not something that you're going to continue because
Right.
this is what's best for you, and who knows best what's best for you than yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Yes. So let's see. We've talked about acting. We've talked about taking those still points. What else? What else has been coming up for you ladies recently when you think about social wellness?
I think for me, one of the things is, we're still not that far out of the whole pandemic. When I
Yeah.
think about social wellness, I really kind of think about isolation,
Mhm.
the opposite, I would say, of social wellness in many ways. And, I'm curious, Destiny, how the lifestyle, when we look at you on the screen, right, you're with people and social, and but we don't see like kind of behind the scenes. And I'm curious, with having to kind of move around and take different jobs, does that sometimes lead to isolation?
Yeah, so I'm definitely a homebody. Um, I feel like it took me a very long time to even be able to say that out loud, because I feel like sometimes when people hear homebody, they're like, "Oh, you're a homebody," like it's not as fun as being the party queen or something, party animal. And so it took me a while to be like, I'm a homebody. Like I kind of like a little isolation. Um, but as far as the industry, if I overexert myself socially, I will do too much isolation, and I have to remind myself of that balance. Kind of what you were saying earlier about that give and take. If I'm giving, 50%, make sure that some way I'm getting that back, so that I have enough. And a lot of the times, I realized that I will, go to work or I'll do auditions, and it's just go, 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 go. And then my friends will be like, "Where's Destiny been for the last 2 weeks? Like, I haven't seen her face. Has anyone heard from her?" And I'm like, "I'm fine. I'm okay.
That's
I'm not
important.
coming out."
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but then in that aspect, I will kind of be missing things that I wanted to do, memories that I wanted to make, because I didn't take care of myself in the beginning. And so now I'm kind of forced into this, this isolation. And I kind of have no other choice but to isolate now. And so now I've been figuring out how to, do a little at a time. No one but myself is expecting me to be at this place for 6 hours. Like, I can show up for an hour and head
Right.
out, and if that's
Mhm.
enough for me, that is enough. No one is going to be upset. No one is going to be sad.
Right.
Most people won't even notice I'm gone. So, so it's okay to show up for an hour and make sure that you make it to the things that you really want to be at, and are not, isolating for longer than you necessarily need to.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
love the fact that you can recognize that for you, a certain level of isolation is really healing, and
Hmm.
it's pulling that energy back into your body, right? But then at some point, it becomes where, oh, wait a minute, I have friends. I
Right.
need to get out.
I love that. And especially with 16-hour shifts, right? Like the schedule as a kitchen manager, I had to be realistic and not disappointed in myself as somebody who likes to be effective when I wasn't waking up at 5. Well, you got home at 3. So that makes sense. How about you just shift the expectations? And isn't this the same distribution when you look at the whole 168 hours of your week, right? So especially with the spurts that it sounds like actors and actresses go through. Maybe I'm shooting the movie, you might not hear from me, and I'll be back when I get back from the mountains or wherever we've been, and that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. It's also another thing of, because actors are not always working. And if anyone is listening who's looking to do acting, I feel like I always tell people who are getting into the industry that a lot of what actors do is auditioning. And auditioning is not something you get paid to do. You do it, you hope that you get the job. It's like doing, you know, 3 interviews a week, like
Right.
nonstop. And it can have a toll on you.
Mm.
Some actors more. And so it definitely can have a toll on you. And so making sure that um, you are pushing yourself, but making sure that you recognize that you don't have to push yourself over it's something that I always try to be realistic about because I
Wait,
personally,
I'm sorry. I feel like I missed the end of what you said, and I want to make sure that they hear it. So you said it's
mhm,
important to make sure that you don't push yourself over what?
over the edge.
That's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, because even today I had an audition today, but there's sometimes I wake up and I have 4 or 5 auditions that I need to get in, and they're not all due that day. And but do I want to put on my makeup, learn the lines, and do them all in one day? Maybe that might be best, but you have to recognize when it's best to just separate it. Do a couple today, do a couple tomorrow, and just wake up, redo everything again, because and it's each person is different, and so you have to remember to take care of yourself. Sometimes agencies or casting offices will say, like, we have an hour turnaround, like, we need you to send this in now, and you have to kind of sit back and say, do I have time to go home, get dressed, take a shower, memorize the lines, like, while I'm in a car? Like, you have to take a step back and say, this job is not for me. This job, do is this even the script? Does the script even move me? Because I think in the beginning for actors, it's like any job I get is great. But when you are pushing yourself for auditions that don't necessarily pay, you can end up doing them, back to back to back to back, and realizing that you don't have anything left. And that's no one's fault. Um, but your own saying, like, I need to do it, but you don't have to. It's okay. It's okay to miss out on an audition or two.
Right. And to weigh the capacity, like weigh where you're at
Hmm.
and see how much it's going to cost if you have it. And
Exactly.
that makes sense.
That's some really good advice for people starting out. Thank
Yeah,
you
it
for
is.
sharing that.
Yes, of
Yes.
course.
Yes. Okay, ladies. So every day, excuse me, every show, we do a wisdom in action. And what that is a way that we're going to put that dimension into action, right? Because we know that we can have all this knowledge, but sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't know. But when we know, we should make sure that, again, it's a habit or we're doing it whenever appropriate. So, with your social wellness, what are you being intentional about this week?
So for me, I have a few people in my life who are going through some challenges, and I really like to be a supportive friend, but I'm not so great at it. But one of the things that I figured out is that if I put, "Hey, call so and so" on my calendar, it's super easy and I can do it. And
Yes.
so I have a couple people on my calendar this week that I'm reaching out to check in on.
I love that. And it definitely works. And for me, I think about
Mhm.
how Destiny says she spreads out the stack, right? Sometimes it's like, yeah, call all these people. And then you're really going to call 30 people today? Are we really going to do it? No, spread out, two here, three there, one person here. So I've been doing the same thing, Cynthia. What about you,
Yeah.
Destiny?
For me, it's been I've made this promise to myself that I was going to be writing when I wake up in the morning, because I'm that person. I'm an early bird, and usually when I wake up, I just get started doing any and
Yeah.
everything.
Hmm.
Um, and sometimes I will start doing things for other people, because I'm like, I have the time. And so I'm being very intentional about, if I'm going to be awake, I'm going to take a little time for myself, and write, because I'm always saying I can never quite find the time, but I'm also that person who wakes up at 6 a.m. So being intentional about using that time to give back to myself.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So
Yeah.
is it hashtag give back to myself?
I love that.
I
Yes.
like that. What's your hashtag, Cynthia?
Hashtag schedule it.
Hello. That's what I was thinking.
Yes.
And I will tell you
And
mine.
I think that works too for me getting out of the house to go to social events as well.
Mhm.
Like I
Yes.
do way better if I actually put it on the calendar.
And there's been some on
Yes.
the calendar that I missed last week, so it stuff, and and that's why in volume 2, I talk about, "Hey, you're gonna write the plan, and then make sure you have a system to move it, because things always move, right? If it went exactly to plan, then God wouldn't have space to have things exceed expectations, and they do a lot when you pay attention to it, right? So let's see. I have a lot of hashtags here from today. You said bring it to set with me. That was good. Bring in yourself. I will say, and I think you said this, Cynthia, hashtag internal discipline. That's what I've been working on, right? What is the posture of my heart? These things are happening. Okay. I need to stay correctly aligned and keep my composure and stay however it is. If I'm in a role and I'm thinking about my responsibility, stay professional and courteous and open to feedback and present, effective, all those things, right? And if it's me, then if I'm talking about internal discipline, again, that's my water and making sure that I don't just drink one of these a day, but two. Because if you drink one, you drink water, but you're still dehydrated. Let's be honest, you know what I mean? Like we got to make sure that we're holding those non-negotiables. So hashtag, and to make it an action, I'll say holding internal discipline. Yeah, that's mine. Okay. Discipline. I always spell these wrong. I tell the high schoolers I'm a speaker, not a speller. Okay. Um, but I have had such a good time having this conversation with you ladies. Thank you so much for
Same.
sharing your experience, Destiny, sharing your stories, and for Cynthia helping us with the inner compassion and bringing the healer. That card was really good to tie
Yes.
everything together. It's beautiful.
It was
Thank you.
lovely to
Thank you
meet
for
you,
having me.
Destiny.
Yes.
You too. Thank you. I love seeing the healer card. I wrote a few things down that are going to stick with me that I'm definitely going to be adding into my own process. So I really appreciate you for that.
Good. Let's stay connected.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Destiny. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Ooh, so good.
What a yummy conversation. I love hearing
Yes.
from people where like I know nothing about what she
Right.
does, right?
No, really. And I love that it sounds a lot like the conversations we've been having, like, yep, that's what we do in other industries and the way that things tie together. There's a finite amount. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities and ways that things could happen, but at the same time, I feel like there's a finite way to do things sometimes. There's various ways we could do it different ways, but if this works, then it works. We could always talk about the most effective or like we said, maybe somebody else being in the role instead of me, whatever happens for those situations. But it sounds like there's still points in between everything that we're doing, right? Whether you're a doctor, whether you're a therapist, whether you have retreats, you still need time for yourself, right? You still need time to get ready for what you're about to do. You still need time to come out of that role and come back to yourself and then get ready to be with your partner or be with, whatever you enjoy spending your time with outside of your occupational wellness and the roles and the hats that you have outside of your house.
Right. And I thought it was fascinating how much her lifestyle as an actor uh, resonated with me as an entrepreneur.
Yes.
With the internal discipline that you need and, managing your own energy, managing your own schedule.
Yes. And for me, it's the expectation of social activity, right? Like if I'm on screen, okay, but maybe I am a homebody. And I think maybe I felt the same way, Destiny. Do I feel some type of way about saying it? Maybe that's what it was, that you feel like I'm not the always the life of the party. I have energy, sure, but life of the party, maybe not all the time, and that's okay, you know. Um, what was my point after saying that? Being a homebody,
Mhm.
social expectations. What were we talking about, Cynthia?
I see Coach Co saying hi to you in the comments.
Yes, yes. Hey, Coach Cole, let's see if she's still with us. I'm an advocate. Hey, yes, Coach Cole. We're talking about social wellness. And so, Coach Cole, as a little surprise, tomorrow we have one of our 5-star review graphics coming out on Women Connected in Wisdom, and your chapter was one of the chapters they specifically mentioned because they love all the stories, but yeah, super excited to still be doing this with you ladies. And being connected has definitely helped me with my social wellness and the way that I balance things and can pull from the different things, resources, and conversations that we have to make sure that I'm intentional. And like I was saying about the what did I say for my hashtag? Internal discipline and the posture. It's been great. So thank you so much for being a part of this, Cynthia.
Oh, my pleasure.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much, Coach Co, for being here. Destiny, thank you. Okay, guys, we will see you next week live at 5. Thank you for joining us. Let me pull up this banner for episode 128. In the meantime, be well, be wise, be whole. We'll talk to you later. Peace.